Daisy, and today we're here to talk about watering. Watering is the #1 reason for flowers either looking great or flowers looking really bad. And our most often asked question about taking care of plants is, how often do I water? And our answer is always as often as they need it. And I know that's not what people like to hear, but that's the best answer we can give, because there's several factors that affect how often a plant needs water. And #1 is the type of plant you're growing. Flowers such as this petunia need watered a lot more frequently than flowers such as a begonia. Another reason is the size of the pot that you're growing in. A small basket, like a hanging basket, as compared to a big deck pot, would need watered much more frequently because it holds less water. And the third thing that affects how often a plant needs watered is the exposure to the weather. A plant in all-day sun with a lot of wind will dry out much faster than a plant up on your porch that doesn't get any sun at all and very little wind. So when we're watering, the first thing we want to know, first question would be, does my plant need watered? And the best way to check to see if your plant needs watered is on a hanging basket. The best way is to simply lift it up. If it's light, it needs water. If it's getting light, it needs water. If it's heavy, it's good. The other way is just to reach your finger up in the soil, poke it down in the soil, and if it's getting drier on top, water it. If it still feels really wet in the top inch or so, leave it alone. So when we water, I'm using a water breaker here, and you want to water just from the top, and it's always best to water in the morning. And you want to put enough water in to fully saturate the soil, and when you're done watering, check, and if the basket's heavy, you've done a good job. If it's still a little light, then you need to water a little more. At the end, after you're done, there should maybe be a little bit of water coming out the bottom of it. You don't want to allow too much water coming out, because what that does is, one, it just wastes water, gets everywhere, and two, you leach out the fertilizer, so it starves the plant more. One of the problems people have watering is when the plant dries out, it's hard to get re-wetted. What actually happens is the soil shrinks and it separates from the sides of the pot, and then when you water, the water just runs around between the soil and the pot, and it goes right out the bottom, and people think, well, it's running out, my pot's pretty wet, when actually it didn't have time to soak in the root ball. So if you checked it after that, it would still be light. What you need to do is water it. A few minutes later, come back and water it again, and then a little bit later, come back and water it again, lift it up, and see if it's heavy. If it's heavy, you've done good. If it's still light, then you better keep watering it. Because a lot of times people water it in the morning, think it's wet, and then it doesn't get real wet, and then it dries out more in the afternoon. And when your plant dries out several times, it just gets weaker and weaker and becomes more susceptible to disease and insects. So if you just follow these tips on watering and taking care of your plants, you'll have happy plants, and gardening will be much more fun. And I want to thank you for watching our video. We'll see you in the next one. Hi, I'm Keith with Scheiderer Farms, and today we're going to talk about feeding our plants. I know I like to eat, and I know that if I miss a meal, I get really hungry. So our plants are the same way, and we all are a little bit different. Athletes like Michael Phelps need to eat a lot of food, and they need to eat frequently. People like me, and maybe you, don't need to eat as often. And we probably won't eat, maybe more than what we need to, but that's another story. Today, our petunias are the Michael Phelps of the flower world. And begonias are like me. They just kind of sit there. When we're feeding our petunias, we want to use a fertilizer that's high in nitrogen, and we want to do it more frequently. We're going to use our Proven Winners water-soluble food for the petunias today, and we want to feed them every week. Normally it's just every 2 weeks in a lot of packages, but petunias and some of the high feeders we want to feed every week. And we're going to use a 2-gallon watering can, and just follow the instructions on the pail. And we're adding 1 scoop per gallon. Simple. And we'll add our water. And it dissolves really easy in this water, so it's very easy to use. When we fertilize, all we're really doing is replacing the watering for the day. So if we're going to be doing it, try to do it in the morning. And just like as we water, we're going to water thoroughly and make sure that when we're done, the basket is heavy. We're going to go a little more. There, I should do it. And well fed. We use a couple different fertilizers here. For our petunias, we want to use something with a lot of nitrogen, some iron, and we like these proven winter fertilizers for that. For other things like the begonias, maybe impatiens, geraniums, we like Nature Source. They're just a little different formulations and give the plants what they need. Another thing that affects how often you want to fertilize is the pot size. Small pots like hanging baskets need fertilized more often because we're putting more water through them and there's less soil to hold the nutrients. Big pots that we aren't watering as often have a lot more soil and they can hold a lot more nutrients, so we may not have to fertilize those quite as often. So remember, if you feed your plants, they'll be fabulous. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.